The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was bigger than most cities. Thousands of different alien beings sat in rows that went up so high they disappeared into shadows. Each seat was made for a different type of creature. Some needed water to breathe. Others needed special gas. Some were so small they needed tiny chairs, while others were so big they took up entire sections. Today something was wrong. Everyone could feel it. HFY stood at the center of the hall. He was old even. For a Zephyrian, his purple skin had turned almost white with age and his 6 arms shook when he moved. He had been on the council for over 300 years. He had seen wars start and end. He had watched entire species rise and fall. But today, he looked scared. "My fellow council members," HFY began. His voice was carried to every seat through machines that turned his words into sounds each species could understand. "We must talk about the humans." A low sound went through the hall. Some aliens laughed. Others made noises of confusion. Humans were still new to the galaxy. They had only made contact with other species 50 years ago. They were young and weak compared to most other races. "I know what you think," HFY continued. "The humans seem harmless. They are not very strong. They do not have the best technology. They are not the fastest or the smartest. But there is something about them that you do not understand. Something that makes them the most dangerous species in the galaxy." Veltar, the crystal being who spoke for her people, made a sound like wind chimes. "Elder HFY, with respect, how can the humans be dangerous? They have only a few hundred worlds. We Veltar have thousands. The Nexari have even more." Other voices joined in. The new species in the council had never seen humans fight. They had only met human traders and diplomats. These humans seemed nice enough. They made fair deals. They were polite. They seemed to want peace. HFY raised all 6 of his arms for silence. "That is exactly the problem. You see humans when they are calm. You see them when they are happy. You have never seen humans when they are truly angry." He walked slowly around the center of the hall. "Let me tell you about the Thurian Empire. They were slave traders. Big, strong, cruel beings who captured other species and sold them. 55 years ago, they captured a human ship. Just one ship with about 2,000 humans on it." The hall was getting quieter now. Even the species who had been laughing were starting to listen. The Thurians thought it would be easy money. Humans looked weak. They were not very big or strong. The Thurians had captured thousands of ships from other species before, but they made one mistake. They sent a message to human space. They said they would sell the humans back for money or they would kill them and sell their bodies. HFY stopped walking. His old eyes looked around the hall. The humans sent back one message, 3 words: "Give them back." The Thurians laughed. They killed 100 humans and sent the bodies to human space as an answer. Then they waited for the humans to pay money for the rest. The humans did not pay. Instead, they did something no species had ever done before. They studied the Thurians. Every piece of information about Thurian biology, technology, culture, and history was gathered. Human scientists worked day and night. Human spies went to every Thurian world. Human ships watched every Thurian trade route. The Thurians did not understand what was happening. They thought the humans were preparing to pay or maybe to attack their ships. They were wrong. HFY's voice got quieter, but somehow everyone could still hear him clearly. The humans were preparing to make the Thurian species stop existing. Confused sounds came from all over the hall. Species talked to each other in dozens of different languages. The idea seemed impossible. "I know how it sounds," HFY said. "But listen to what happened next. The humans found out that Thurians needed a special type of metal in their food to live. Without it, they would get sick and die. So human ships began destroying the mines where this metal came from. The humans learned that Thurian females could only have babies at certain times of their lives. So human agents poisoned the food supplies with chemicals that stopped this from happening. The humans discovered that Thurians believed their ancestors lived in special crystals on their homeworlds, so human teams went to these worlds and destroyed every crystal. But that was just the beginning. Kethvar walked to a control panel and pressed some buttons. Above the hall, images appeared showing star maps. "This is Thurian space 50 years ago," he said. The map showed hundreds of star systems connected by trade routes. Cities and ships moved between the worlds. The Thurian Empire had over 300 worlds, billions of people, thousands of ships, a strong military. He pressed another button. "This is Thurian space today." The map was empty. No cities, no ships, no people, just empty space around dead worlds. The humans did not just defeat the Thurians in war. They made it so Thurians could never exist again. Every Thurian world is now empty. Every Thurian ship is destroyed. Every Thurian person is dead. Even their language is gone. The only reason we know they ever existed is because we have records. The hall was completely silent now. "But surely," said Cognite Unit Prime, speaking through its machine voice, "this was unusual. One extreme case." Kethvar made a sound that might have been laughter, but it was not happy. "I wish that were true. Let me tell you about the Krex Dominion." More images appeared above the hall. The Krex were proud warriors. They believed that showing mercy was weakness. 47 years ago, they attacked a human research station. The station had no weapons. It was just scientists studying plants and rocks. The Krex killed everyone there, men, women, children. Then they sent a message to human space saying that humans were weak and deserved to die. "What happened to the Krex?" asked a voice from high up in the hall. "Look," Kethvar said, pressing more buttons. The images showed the Krex Empire, thousands of worlds, massive fleets, billions of proud warrior people. This was the Krex Dominion 47 years ago. They were one of the strongest military powers in the galaxy. He changed the image. "This is Krex space today. Again, empty space. Dead worlds. Nothing." The humans studied the Krex for 3 years. They learned that Krex warriors became weak if they could not fight for long periods. So human agents made sure there were always small conflicts happening in Krex space. Civil wars, rebellions. The Krex spent all their time fighting each other instead of building their strength. The humans learned that the Krex got their power from special energy crystals. So human teams snuck onto Krex worlds and poisoned the crystals. The energy turned toxic. It killed anyone who touched it. The humans found out that Krex society was based on honor and tradition. So they created fake historical records that made it look like the greatest Krex heroes were actually cowards and traitors. This destroyed Krex culture from the inside. But the worst part was the virus. Kethvar paused. Even he seemed to have trouble talking about this part. Human scientists created a sickness that only affected Krex biology. It spread slowly, so infected Krex could travel to many worlds before getting sick. The virus attacked their nervous systems. It made them unable to think clearly. They became confused and violent. They attacked each other. They destroyed their own cities. By the time the Krex realized what was happening, it was too late. The virus was everywhere. Their entire species died within 2 years. The humans made sure that no Krex would ever exist again. The hall was filled with the sounds of fear. Aliens who had been confident and proud now looked worried. They were starting to understand what Kethvar was trying to tell them. "Elder," said a representative of the Draconis, a species known for their military strength, "surely the human government does not support such actions. These must have been rogue groups acting without permission." Kethvar looked at the Draconis representative with tired eyes. "That is what we all hoped. So we sent diplomats to speak with human leaders. We asked them to explain these actions. Do you know what they said?" The hall waited. They said that any species that commits genocide against human civilians will face complete extinction. They called it the Human Absolute War Doctrine. It is their official policy, approved by their government and supported by their people. "But that is impossible," shouted the Nixari collective speaker. "No civilized species would accept such extreme measures." "The humans do not see it as extreme," Kethvar replied. "They see it as justice. In human culture, there are some crimes that cannot be forgiven. Genocide is one of them. When another species kills human civilians on purpose, humans believe that species has given up its right to exist. He pressed more buttons. Images of human space appeared. Look at their worlds. They are peaceful. Humans live normal lives. They have families. They build cities. They create art and music. They laugh and love and dream just like us. But every human knows about the doctrine. Every human supports it. They believe that the safety of human civilians is more important than the existence of any other species. How do you know this? Asked the Veltar representative. Because we have asked them. Our diplomats have spoken to thousands of humans, workers, teachers, artists, children. They all give the same answer. If you kill innocent humans, you will be destroyed completely. Kethavar walked back to the center of the hall. That is why I am warning you all today. The humans are not like us. When we fight wars, we try to win. When we are wronged, we seek justice or revenge. But we always stop when our enemy surrenders or when we have made our point. Humans do not think this way. When they fight, they do not try to win. They try to end. When someone hurts them badly enough, they do not seek justice or revenge. They seek extinction. I have studied their history from before they reached space. Humans have always been this way. When they fought each other, they created weapons that could destroy entire cities. They built bombs that could poison whole continents. They made diseases that could kill millions of people. The only reason humans did not destroy themselves is because they learned to control their anger toward each other. But that control does not extend to other species. If you make humans angry enough, they will use everything they know to make you disappear forever. The hall was very quiet now. Every alien in the room was thinking about what Kethavar had said. What makes them angry enough? Asked a small voice from somewhere in the crowd. Kethavar sighed. Killing human civilians, threatening to destroy the human species, attacking human children, breaking peace treaties in ways that cause human deaths, slavery of humans. Basically, he continued, anything that humans see as an attempt to commit genocide against their people. So we just need to be careful not to do those things, said the Cognita Unit Prime. That seems reasonable. Yes, Kethavar agreed. It is reasonable. The humans are actually quite easy to get along with. They make fair trades. They respect treaties. They help other species when asked. They do not start wars or take territory that does not belong to them. The problem is that humans define things differently than we do. What we might see as a normal military action, they might see as attempted genocide. What we see as acceptable, losses in war, they see as murder of innocents. He looked around the hall one more time. I am telling you this because long-range sensors have detected a large fleet moving toward human space. The Zarathi Imperium has been expanding in that direction. Their ships carry planet-killer weapons. They have destroyed entire civilizations. Before. If the Zarathi attack human worlds and kill human civilians, there will be no more Zarathi within 5 years. I guarantee this. But the Zarathi are strong, protested someone. They have conquered dozens of species. Their warriors are the fiercest in the galaxy. So were the Thurians. So were the Kreks. Strength does not matter when humans decide you should not exist anymore. Technology does not matter. Numbers do not matter. Humans will find a way. Kethavar began walking toward his seat. I have given you this warning because some of you are young species. You do not understand how dangerous humans can be when they are truly angry. Learn from those who came before. The Thurians thought they were strong enough to take human slaves. The Kreks thought they were tough enough to kill human civilians. Neither species exists anymore. If you remember nothing else from today, remember this. Humans can be your greatest allies or your worst enemies. The choice is yours. But choose carefully, because humans never give second chances to those who cross certain lines. As Kethavar sat down, alarms began sounding throughout the station. A communications officer ran into the hall. Council members, the officer announced, we are receiving reports from the frontier sectors. The Zarathi Imperium has launched an attack on 3 human colony worlds. All 3 planets have been completely destroyed. Estimated casualties, 12 billion human civilians. The hall erupted in chaos. Aliens shouted in fear, anger, and confusion. But through all the noise, one sound could be heard clearly. Kethvar was laughing, but it was not a happy sound. It was the laugh of someone who had seen this happen before and knew exactly what came next. In the distance, space sensors were already detecting the first movements of human fleets. But these were not warships heading to battle. These were research vessels, spy ships, and science stations. The humans were not preparing to fight the Zerathi. They were preparing to study them. And once humans finished studying a species that had killed their civilians, that species was never seen again. Supreme War Commander Zrakthos stood in the command center of his flagship and looked out at the burning remains of the third human world. The planet below was nothing but fire and smoke now. 12 billion soft-skinned humans had lived there just hours ago. Now there was nothing but ash and melted rock. Zrakthos was proud of his work. He was 8 feet tall and covered in natural armor that could stop most weapons. His forearms ended in claws that could cut through metal. His people, the Zerathi, were born warriors. They had conquered 47 star systems and enslaved or destroyed hundreds of other species. The humans were supposed to be different. Intelligence reports said they were weak. They had soft skin that could be cut easily. They needed special air to breathe. They died if they got too hot or too cold. They seemed like they would be easy to defeat. War Commander, said his intelligence officer, Grixtal, the human worlds are sending out messages. They appear to be asking for help. Zrakthos laughed. The sound was like rocks grinding together. Good. Let them beg. Let them call their allies. When other species see how easily we crush the humans, they will surrender without fighting. Grixtal looked at his data screens with confusion. Sir, that is not what they are doing. The humans are not asking other species for military help. They are asking for information. What kind of information? Everything about us, sir. Our biology, our technology, our culture, our history. Every species that has ever met Zerathi is getting requests from human scientists and researchers. Zrakthos walked to the main display screen. He could see the dead human world spinning slowly below them. Why would they waste time studying us? They should be preparing their armies or trying to make peace. I do not know, sir. But the requests are very detailed. They want to know what we eat, how we reproduce, what diseases can affect us, what our atmosphere is like, how our society works, what we believe in, what we fear. Let them study, Zrakthos said. What good will knowledge do them when we destroy all their worlds? But, as the days passed, the human response became more and more strange. Other species began sending the Zerathi warnings. The Zephyrians sent a formal message begging them to stop attacking human worlds. The Veltar offered to pay the Zerathi to leave human space. Even the powerful Nexari collective asked for peace talks. Zrakthos ignored them all. Weakness was weakness, no matter what pretty words were used to hide it. Meanwhile, in the deep underground bunkers of Earth, humanity's leaders were working with cold, focused determination. General Sarah Chen sat at the head of a long table surrounded by the best minds from every field of human knowledge. Status report, she said simply. Dr. Marcus Webb, head of biological research, spoke first. We have complete genetic profiles of 17 different Zerathi subspecies. We know how they reproduce, what they eat, what diseases they can catch, how their bodies work, and what can kill them. We have samples of their blood, tissue, and genetic material from the battlefield remains. Dr. Elena Rodriguez from Psychological Warfare added, we have detailed analysis of their social structure, their religious beliefs, their cultural values, and their historical traumas. We know what they fear most and what motivates them. Colonel James Harrison from Intelligence Services continued, we have mapped every Zerathi world, every space station, every ship design, and every military base. We know their supply lines, their communication networks, and their command structure. Dr. Rebecca Torres from Environmental Systems finished, we have analyzed the atmosphere, water, soil, and food sources of all Zerathi worlds. We know exactly what they need to survive and how to destroy it. General Chen nodded. Time frame for complete solution? Biological weapons can be ready in 6 months, Dr. Webb replied. Psychological operations can begin immediately. Environmental weapons will take 1 year. Complete extinction of the Zarathi species can be achieved within 18 months if we deploy all methods simultaneously. Authorization codes, Phoenix 77 confirmed. Absolute protocol is now active. General Chen looked around the table at faces that showed no emotion except cold determination. Gentlemen, ladies, the Zarathi Imperium killed 12 billion human civilians. They did this on purpose to send a message that humans are weak. Today, we begin sending our own message. What message is that, General? Asked Dr. Webb. That any species which commits genocide against humanity will be completely erased from existence. No survivors, no prisoners, no mercy, no second chances. She stood up from the table. Begin all operations immediately. Across human space, the response began. But it was not what any other species expected. On the research station orbiting Europa, Dr. Sarah Kim led a team of virologists in creating the most deadly biological weapons ever designed. They took samples of Zarathi genetic material and began building viruses that would attack every part of Zarathi biology. One virus would destroy their breathing system, another would attack their brains, a third would make their blood stop working, a fourth would prevent them from having children. The viruses were designed to spread slowly and quietly. A Zarathi could carry the virus for months without knowing they were sick. They would travel to many different worlds, spreading the disease everywhere they went. Only when every Zarathi world was infected would the viruses activate. On Mars, Colonel Lisa Zhang worked with teams of psychological warfare experts. They studied everything they could learn about Zarathi culture and history. They found that Zarathi society was based on honor and strength. Zarathi believed their ancestors watched them from beyond death. They feared being seen as weak or cowardly. The human teams began creating fake historical documents that made it look like the greatest Zarathi heroes were actually cowards, who ran from battle. They created false religious texts that said the ancestors were disappointed in modern Zarathi. They spread rumors that the current Zarathi leaders were planning to surrender to weaker species. The psychological weapons were designed to destroy Zarathi society from the inside. When warriors began to doubt their own honor, they would fight each other instead of fighting humans. In the asteroid belt, Dr. Michael Thompson oversaw the construction of environmental weapons. His teams built machines that could change the air on Zarathi worlds from breathable atmosphere to poison gas. They created bacteria that would eat all the food plants that Zarathi needed to survive. They designed devices that would poison the water supplies of entire planets. The environmental weapons were meant to make Zarathi worlds unable to support life. Even if some Zarathi survived the viruses and the civil wars, they would have no safe place to live. But the most terrifying part of the human response was how normal everything seemed. Human civilians went about their daily lives. Children went to school. People went to work. Families had dinner together. No one seemed worried or afraid. When asked by alien reporters about the Zarathi attack, most humans gave the same answer. The government will handle it. They seemed completely confident that the problem would be solved. Back on his flagship, War Commander Zarathos was beginning to feel uneasy. His spies reported that humans were not building more warships or training more soldiers. Instead, they were building research stations and manufacturing facilities for things his spies could not identify. "Sir," Grixtal reported, "we are detecting strange activity in human space. Large numbers of unmarked ships are leaving human worlds and heading toward the outer galaxy. Invasion fleets? No, sir. The ships appear to be science vessels and cargo transports. They are not heading toward our territory. They are going to neutral systems and to the home worlds of species that have had contact with us." Zarathos was confused. Why would humans be sending ships away from the war zone? What he did not know was that those ships carried human agents trained in infiltration and sabotage. The agents had been studying Zarathi biology and culture for months. Now they were heading to every world where Zarathi lived, worked, or visited. Some agents got jobs as traders and sold Zarathi food and supplies that contained hidden viruses. Others posed as diplomats and spread the false historical documents and religious texts. Still others worked as technicians and sabotaged Zarathi equipment in ways that would not be noticed for months. The human agents were like a slow poison spreading through Zarathi space. By the time anyone realized what was happening, it would be too late to stop it. "Sir," Grixtal said during another daily briefing, "I am getting reports of unusual problems from our colonies. Several worlds are reporting equipment failures. Others are having food shortages. Some are dealing with civil unrest. Probably just normal problems," Zrakthos replied. "Managing an empire is difficult, these things happen." But privately, he was starting to worry. The humans should have responded by now with fleets and armies. Instead, they seemed to be doing nothing. It was not natural. Every other species they had conquered had fought back immediately or surrendered quickly. The humans were doing neither. "Sir," Grixtal continued, "there is something else. Our cultural experts are reporting strange discoveries in our historical archives. Documents that suggest our greatest heroes may not have been as honorable as we believed." "What kind of documents?" "Battle reports that show famous warriors running from fights, personal letters that reveal cowardly thoughts, religious texts that speak of ancestral disappointment." Zrakthos slammed his fist on the command table. "Those are lies. Our heroes were brave and strong. Someone is trying to corrupt our history." "But sir, the documents appear to be genuine. They have the right materials, the right age, the right writing styles. Our experts cannot find any signs that they are fake." What Grixtal did not know was that human teams had spent months creating these fake documents. They had studied Zarathi writing, Zarathi materials, and Zarathi history so carefully that they could create false records that looked more real than the truth. The psychological warfare was working. Across Zarathi space, warriors were beginning to doubt their own culture and history. Some were starting to fight with each other over what was true and what was false. Meanwhile, the biological weapons were spreading silently through the Zarathi population. Infected individuals traveled from world to world, carrying the deadly viruses with them. The viruses were designed to hide in Zarathi bodies for 6 months before becoming active. By the time the first symptoms appeared, every Zarathi world would be infected. There would be no safe place to run. "War Commander?" Grixtal said during what would be their final briefing together. "I am receiving disturbing reports from across our territory. Multiple worlds are reporting outbreaks of unknown diseases. The symptoms are unlike anything our medical experts have seen before." Zrakthos felt cold fear creeping into his heart. "How many worlds?" "All of them, sir. Every single Zarathi colony, station, and ship is reporting the same problems. Our people are getting sick and our doctors do not know how to help them." As Grixtal spoke, he began coughing. Small drops of purple blood came from his mouth. "Sir," he said weakly, "I think I am getting sick too." Zrakthos looked at his loyal officer and finally understood what was happening. The humans had not been preparing for war. They had been preparing for extinction. "How long do our medical experts think we have?" he asked. Grixtal fell to the floor, coughing up more blood. "They estimate 6 months, maybe less, for complete species death." War Commander Zrakthos, the proud warrior who had conquered dozens of worlds, sat down in his command chair and put his head in his hands. For the first time in his life, he felt truly afraid. "Send a message to human space," he ordered weakly. Tell them we want to make peace. We will leave their territory. We will pay for damages. We will do anything they want." But when the message was sent, there was no reply. The humans were not interested in peace, payment, or negotiation. They were only interested in making sure that no Zarathi would ever exist again. 6 months after the biological weapons were released, Zarathi space had become a place of death and horror. On the capital world of Zerak Prime, what had once been a proud civilization now lay in ruins. Former war commander Zrakthos struggled to breathe as he walked through the empty streets of the capital city. The virus had destroyed his lungs, just as it had destroyed the lungs of every other Zarathi. Purple blood stained his armor from constant coughing. His forearms shook with weakness. The city around him was silent except for the sound of wind blowing through broken windows. Bodies lay everywhere. Some had fallen in the streets. Others had died in their homes. A few had made it to medical centers before the virus finally killed them. Status report. He whispered into his communication device. His voice was so weak that the machine could barely pick it up. "Sir," came the reply from Lieutenant Vexmar, one of the few Zarathi still alive. "I have reports from all sectors. Total population of Zirak Prime has fallen from 8 billion to approximately 50,000. All other worlds report similar numbers." Zarathos closed his eyes. His species had numbered over 40 billion individuals just 6 months ago. Now they were almost extinct. "What about our fleets?" "Dead, sir. The crews were infected just like everyone else. Most ships are floating empty in space. A few crashed when there was no one left alive to fly them." "And our colonies?" "Gone, sir. Every world we controlled is either empty or has only a few survivors. The humans have not even bothered to send ships to claim them. They seem content to let the world stay empty." Zarathos sat down on the steps of what had once been the Grand Military Academy. Thousands of young Zarathi warriors had trained here. Now it was empty except for corpses. "Lieutenant, are the humans responding to our surrender offers?" "No, sir. We have sent over 200 messages requesting peace talks, offering complete surrender, even offering to become slaves. The humans do not reply to any of them." That was the most terrifying part. The humans had not sent invasion fleets to take over Zarathi worlds. They had not sent occupation forces. They had not even sent messages demanding surrender. They had simply released their weapons and waited for every Zarathi to die. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Sarah Chen sat in her office reading the daily reports. The Zarathi extinction was proceeding exactly as planned. Biological weapons had reduced their population by 99%. Psychological warfare had caused civil wars that killed most of the virus survivors. Environmental weapons had made their remaining worlds uninhabitable. "General," said her aide, Commander Torres, "we are receiving surrender messages from the surviving Zarathi. They are begging for mercy. How many survivors are there?" "Current estimates suggest less than 10,000 individuals scattered across their former territory. Most will be dead within weeks from the environmental poisons." General Chen nodded without emotion. "Continue monitoring. Do not respond to their messages." "Ma'am, with respect, some of the surviving Zarathi are civilians. Children even." Chen looked up from her reports with cold eyes. "Commander, the Zarathi killed 12 billion human civilians, including children. They did not spare our innocents. We will not spare theirs. The doctrine is clear. Any species that commits genocide against humanity will be completely extinct. No exceptions, no mercy, no survivors." She returned to her paperwork. "Besides, the psychological profiles indicate that Zarathi children grow up to be warriors. Leaving them alive would only create future enemies." What General Chen did not mention was that human agents were already tracking down the remaining Zarathi survivors. Special teams had been sent to hunt down every individual Zarathi in the galaxy. Even those who had been living peacefully on neutral worlds were being eliminated quietly. On the trading station of New Harmony, a Zarathi merchant named Klixtar was trying to blend in with the crowd. He had been away from Zarathi space when the plague began, so he had avoided infection. But he knew that humans were looking for survivors. He had heard the rumors. Zarathi who tried to hide on other worlds were found dead in their homes. Always, the same way, a single shot to the head, quick and clean. No torture, no cruelty, just efficient execution. Klixtar had never been a warrior. He sold art and crafts made by different species. He had never hurt anyone. He had been horrified when he learned about the attack on human worlds. But none of that mattered now. He was Zarathi, and that was enough. "Excuse me," said a voice behind him. He turned to see a human woman with short brown hair and kind eyes. She looked like a tourist or trader. "Yes," he replied nervously. "Klixtar of the merchant vessel Silver Wind." His blood turned cold. How do you know my name?" The woman smiled, but her eyes remained cold. "We know the names of all remaining Zarathi. There are currently 847 of you left alive in the galaxy. That number decreases every day. Please, Klixitar begged. I never hurt any humans. I am just a trader. I sell art and beauty, not weapons. I know, the woman said. Our files show that you have had positive interactions with humans. For over 15 years, you have never committed any crimes. You have helped human traders find good deals and safe ports. Then why? Because you are Zarathi. Your species chose to commit genocide against human civilians. The consequences of that choice affect every member of your species regardless of individual guilt or innocence. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small weapon. I will make it quick, she promised. You will not suffer. But this is not justice, Klixitar said desperately. I am innocent. So were the 12 billion humans your people killed. Justice would be if we only killed the Zarathi who actually attacked our worlds. But we are not seeking justice. What are you seeking? Prevention. We are making sure that no Zarathi will ever again have the chance to hurt humans. The only way to guarantee that is to make sure no Zarathi exist. The weapon fired once. Klixitar fell to the ground dead instantly. The human woman put her weapon away and walked calmly toward the station's exit. Around her, other aliens pretended they had not seen anything. Everyone knew what happened to species that interfered with human business. Back on Zarak Prime, War Commander Zrakthos received the final report from his intelligence network. The news was worse than he had imagined. Sir, Lieutenant Vexmar reported over the communication system. Our agents throughout the galaxy have all gone silent. The last confirmed sighting of a living Zarathi outside our former territory was 3 days ago. It appears the humans are systematically hunting down every survivor. Zrakthos coughed up more purple blood. The virus was in its final stages now. He would be dead within hours just like everyone else. How many of us are left? On this world, perhaps 200? Scattered across all other worlds, maybe another few hundred. Less than 1,000 total. And the humans? Still not responding to communications. Still not claiming our territory. They appear to be content to wait for us all to die naturally. Zrakthos laughed, though it turned into a coughing fit. Do you understand what they have done, Vexmar? Sir? They have not just defeated us. They have erased us. In a few days there will be no living Zarathi anywhere in the galaxy. In a few years no one will remember we ever existed except as a warning about what happens when you anger humans. But surely they will record our history, our achievements, the worlds we built. No, Zrakthos said weakly. I have been monitoring human communications. They are already removing all references to our civilization from their databases. When we are gone, it will be as if we never existed at all. He looked out the window at the empty city. 43 billion Zarathi have died because I decided to attack human civilians. Our entire species wiped out because of my arrogance. Sir, you could not have known the humans would respond like this. Could I not? The intelligence was there. Reports about the Thurians and the Krex. Warnings from the Galactic Council. But I thought we were different. I thought we were stronger. Zrakthos fell to the floor as his legs could no longer support him. I thought humans were weak because they looked soft and spoke of peace. I did not understand that their softness hides something far more dangerous than any warrior's strength. What is that, sir? The absolute determination to protect their people no matter what the cost. When we killed their civilians, we did not just attack their bodies. We attacked everything they care about. Their families, their children, their future. And now? Now we pay the price for that attack. Complete extinction. No mercy, no survivors, no second chances. Lieutenant Vexmar's voice was getting weaker too. The virus was killing him as well. Do you think they are right to do this? Zrakthos thought about the question for a long moment. Right or wrong does not matter now. What matters is that they are thorough. They have made sure that no Zarathi will ever again be able to hurt human children. I just wish... What? I wish I could apologize to them, to the families of the humans we killed, to tell them that not all Zarathi supported the attack. They would not care, Zrakthos said, and perhaps they are right not to care. We are a warrior species. Even if some of us were peaceful, We raised our children to be fighters. Sooner or later, there would have been another war. So they chose to end the possibility forever. Yes. Zrakthos closed his eyes as breathing became too difficult. Vexmar, send one final message to human space. What should it say, sir? Tell them. Tell them we understand why they did this. Tell them our extinction is a warning to other species about the consequences of harming human civilians. Tell them we hope our deaths will prevent future genocides. Is that all? No. Tell them that the last Zarathi acknowledges human victory, complete and total. We surrender not just our lives, but our entire existence to their justice. The communication went silent as Lieutenant Vexmar died at his station. War Commander Zrakthos lay on the floor of his former command center, looking up at displays that showed empty space where Zarathi fleets had once patrolled. He had been one of the greatest military commanders in the galaxy. He had conquered worlds and defeated armies. None of it mattered now. In a few minutes he would be dead. In a few days, every Zarathi would be dead. In a few months, it would be as if their species had never existed. The humans had not just won a war, they had deleted an entire civilization from reality. As darkness closed around his vision, Zrakthos had one final thought. The humans were not cruel or evil. They were simply thorough. When someone threatened their children, they made sure that threat could never exist again. Other species would learn from the Zarathi's fate. They would understand that humans could be peaceful neighbors or absolute enemies, but never anything in between. The choice was always up to them. War Commander Zrakthos, the last military leader of the Zarathi Imperium, died with that understanding. Above him, automated systems continued broadcasting surrender messages that would never receive replies. In human space, the messages were received and immediately deleted. There was no need to respond to a species that would not exist much longer. 2 years had passed since the last Zarathi died alone on a medical station in the Outer Rim. The galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. The Galactic Council met in emergency session for the 5th time this year. The great hall that had once buzzed with the confident voices of hundreds of species was now filled with whispers and nervous glances. Elder Kethavar, now even more ancient and frail, stood once again at the center of the hall. But this time he was not giving warnings. He was reading reports. The Zarathi Imperium is officially extinct, he announced. All 47 worlds of their former territory remain empty. No ships, no colonies, no survivors. Galactic Census confirms 0 living Zarathi anywhere in the galaxy. The hall was silent. Everyone had expected this news, but hearing it officially was still shocking. Furthermore, Kethavar continued, human survey teams have begun cataloging Zarathi worlds. They are removing all technology, all art, all records. Within 6 months, there will be no evidence that the Zarathi ever existed. A voice from the crowd called out. What will happen to those worlds? They will remain empty, Kethavar replied. The humans have declared them memorial spaces for the 12 billion human civilians who died in the initial attack. No species will be allowed to colonize them. Veltar, the crystal being, pulsed with concern. Surely the humans will return to normal diplomatic relations now that their revenge is complete. Kethavar pressed a control, and a holographic display showed human space. This is current human territory. The map showed the same borders as before the war. Human space had not expanded at all. The humans have not claimed a single Zarathi world. They have not taken any technology or resources from conquered territory. They appear to have no interest in the benefits of victory. Then what do they want? Asked the Cognitae Unit Prime. They want the galaxy to remember, Kethavar said simply. They want every species to understand what happens when humans are pushed beyond certain limits. At that moment, the hall's main doors opened. A human woman in a simple gray suit walked in. She was not the friendly Ambassador David Park, who had represented humanity for years. This was someone new. My name is Colonel Lisa Zhang, the human said as she walked to the center of the hall. I am humanity's new representative to the Galactic Council. Murmurs went through the crowd. No one had expected humans to send a military. officer as their diplomat. I am here to clarify humanity's position regarding recent events, Colonel Zhang continued. Many of you seem confused about what happened to the Zarathi and what it means for the future. She looked around the hall with calm, steady eyes. The Zarathi Imperium committed genocide against human civilians. They killed 12 billion innocent people, including children. They did this deliberately, as a show of force to intimidate our species. In response, humanity implemented the absolute war doctrine. This doctrine states that any species which commits genocide against human civilians will face complete extinction. No negotiations, no mercy, no survivors. A representative from the Draconis Empire stood up. Colonel Zhang, surely your people understand that war involves civilian casualties. The Zarathi action, while regrettable, was within normal military parameters. Colonel Zhang turned to face the Draconis representative directly. No, it was not. The Zarathi did not attack military targets. They did not engage human fleets. They specifically targeted civilian population centers with the goal of killing as many innocent humans as possible. This was not war. This was attempted genocide. And the penalty for attempted genocide against humanity is extinction. But Colonel, said the Nexari collective speaker, your response was far beyond what any civilized species would consider appropriate. You destroyed an entire civilization. Yes, Zhang replied without emotion. That was the point. The hall erupted in shocked voices. Aliens argued with each other in dozens of languages. Some seemed terrified. Others seemed angry. Zhang waited for the noise to die down before continuing. I know this is difficult for many of you to understand. Your species fight wars to gain territory or resources. You seek to defeat your enemies and force them to surrender. Humans are different. When someone threatens our children, our families, our civilians, we do not seek victory. We seek prevention. We make sure the threat can never happen again. But surely, said a small voice from high in the hall, there could have been a middle ground, some punishment less than total extinction. Zhang shook her head. The Zarathi were a warrior culture. They believed that might made right. They thought, humans were weak because we prefer peace. Even if we had defeated their military and occupied their worlds, they would have rebuilt. They would have tried again. The only way to be certain that Zarathi would never again kill human children was to make sure no Zarathi existed. Elder Kethvar spoke up from his seat. Colonel Zhang, what about innocent Zarathi? Civilians who had nothing to do with the attack? Children who had not yet learned to be warriors? For the first time, something like emotion flickered across Zhang's face. Elder Kethvar, every human child who died in that attack was innocent too. But the Zarathi did not spare them. More importantly, Zarathi children were raised from birth to be warriors. Their entire culture glorified conquest and violence. Those children would have grown up to be the next generation of killers, so we made sure there would be no next generation. The hall fell silent again. The casual way Zhang spoke about the extinction of children was more terrifying than any threat. What happens now? Asked the Veltar representative. Now, the galaxy continues as before, Zhang replied. Humans want the same thing we have always wanted, to live in peace, to trade fairly, and to be left alone. But everyone should understand that humanity's definition of being left alone includes not having our civilians murdered by other species. She walked closer to the assembled representatives. Let me be very clear about something. Humans are not aggressive. We do not want to conquer other worlds or build an empire. We are happy to be friends with any species that treats us with basic respect. But if any species decides to commit genocide against human civilians, they will share the Zarathi's fate. Complete extinction. No warnings, no second chances, no mercy. How do we know what will anger you enough to trigger this response? Asked the Cognite Unit Prime. It is simple, Zhang replied. Do not deliberately kill human civilians. Do not attack human colonies with the goal of murdering innocent people. Do not attempt to wipe out human populations. Everything else can be negotiated. Trade disputes, border conflicts, resource disagreements. These are normal problems that can be solved through diplomacy. But genocide is different. Genocide against humans means extinction for the species that attempts it. A representative from a small, peaceful species asked nervously, "What if there is an accident? What if civilian casualties happen during a legitimate conflict?" Zhang's expression softened slightly. "Accidents happen in war. We understand this. Human military doctrine accounts for proportional response to legitimate military actions. The Zarathi did not attack military targets by accident. They specifically chose to target civilian population centers. They wanted to kill as many innocent humans as possible to send a message about their power. That was not an accident. That was attempted genocide." She looked around the hall one more time. "I want to be clear about humanity's intentions. We do not want other species to fear us. We want them to respect the basic principle that murdering innocents has consequences. Most of you have been trading partners and allies with humanity for decades. Nothing has changed in those relationships. We still want to work together, share knowledge, and build a peaceful galaxy. But now everyone knows what happens to species that cross certain lines." Elder Kethvar stood up slowly. "Colonel Zhang, what about the empty Zarathi worlds? Will they remain uninhabited forever?" "Yes, they are memorial sites now. 47 star systems that serve as a reminder of what happened when someone decided to commit genocide against human civilians. No species will be allowed to settle those worlds. They will stay empty as long as humanity exists." As Zhang prepared to leave, a young representative from a recently contacted species called out, "Colonel, how do we know humans will not decide? We are a threat? How do we know you will not eliminate us for some minor offense?" Zhang stopped and turned back to face the questioner. For the first time, she smiled slightly. "Because you are asking that question. The Zarathi never asked how to avoid angering humans. They assumed we were weak and that our responses did not matter. Any species that wants to avoid humanity's extreme response simply needs to follow one rule. Do not commit genocide against human civilians. Trade with us, compete with us, even argue with us, but do not deliberately murder our innocent people. It is really that simple." As Colonel Zhang left the hall, the assembled representatives began talking among themselves, in urgent whispers. The galaxy had changed, and everyone needed to figure out what that meant for their own species. In the weeks that followed, the effects of the Zarathi extinction became clear throughout the galaxy. The Karthak hegemony, known for their aggressive expansion, suddenly became interested in peaceful diplomacy. Their war fleets were quietly converted to exploration vessels. The Draconis Empire, which had been planning military action against several smaller species, abruptly changed course and offered mutual defense treaties instead. The Vorthan Syndicate, notorious pirates and raiders, disbanded their fleets and became legitimate traders overnight. Every aggressive species in the galaxy looked at the empty Zarathi worlds and decided that whatever they had been planning was not worth the risk of making humans angry. Meanwhile, peaceful species found that their relationships with humanity became stronger than ever. The humans seemed genuinely grateful for friendship and were generous with trade agreements and technology sharing. It was as if the galaxy had been divided into two categories: species that humans could work with, and species that no longer existed. The message was clear to everyone: choose wisely which category you want to be in. On Earth, General Sarah Chen sat in her office and read reports about the galactic response to the Zarathi extinction. Trade agreements were up. Military conflicts between species were down. Piracy had almost disappeared. "Ma'am," said Commander Torres, "it appears that the demonstration has had the desired effect. Aggressive species are choosing diplomacy over conflict." Chen nodded. "Good. The Zarathi died for a purpose then. Their extinction has prevented countless future wars and saved millions of lives. Do you think the other species truly understand the message? They understand that humans will completely destroy any species that commits genocide against our civilians. Whether they understand why we do this is less important than the fact that they will not test us." Chen looked out her window at the peaceful Earth sky, where children played and families lived normal lives. The Zarathi thought they could kill our children to make a point about their power. Instead, their extinction made a point about ours. What point is that, ma'am? That humanity will pay any price, bear any burden, and destroy any enemy to protect our innocent people. And now every species in the galaxy knows it. 5 years had passed since the last Zerathi died. The galaxy was a very different place now. Dr. Sarah Chen, former General and now Secretary of Galactic Affairs for Humanity, stood at the window of her office in the New Geneva space station. Below her, Earth continued its slow rotation, peaceful and green. Above her, the stars held secrets that had been learned through blood and extinction. "Ma'am," said her assistant, Commander Maria Santos, "the daily galactic report is ready." Chen turned from the window and walked to her desk. The holographic displays showed star maps of the known galaxy, with different colors marking the status of each region. Green zones indicated species that had friendly relationships with humanity. There were many green zones. Yellow zones marked neutral territories where species minded their own business and avoided conflict. There were many yellow zones, too. Blue zones showed areas where humans had established trade agreements and cultural exchanges. These were growing every year. Red zones indicated potential threats or aggressive species that might pose a danger to human civilians. The map showed no red zones at all. "Status report," Chen said as she sat down. "All galactic sectors remain peaceful," Commander Santos replied. "No military conflicts between major species. No reported acts of aggression against human civilians or installations. Trade status? Trade with human space has increased by 40% this year. 16 new species have requested formal trade agreements. 8 more have asked for mutual defense treaties. Any species showing signs of aggressive behavior? None, ma'am. The closest thing to aggression we have seen is a border dispute between the Altarian Federation and the Centauri Republic. Both sides specifically asked for human mediation to prevent the conflict from escalating." Chen nodded. This was how things had been for 5 years now. The galaxy had learned to police itself, to avoid making humans angry. What about the memorial zones? All 47 former Zerathi worlds remain empty and undisturbed. Long-range sensors confirm no unauthorized landings or attempts at colonization. The memorial beacons are functioning properly and broadcasting the historical record. Chen pulled up the memorial records on her screen. Each beacon told the same story. This world was once home to the Zerathi Imperium. The Zerathi committed genocide against human civilians, killing 12 billion innocent people, including children. In response, humanity implemented the absolute war doctrine. The Zerathi species was completely extinct within 18 months. These empty worlds serve as a reminder of the consequences of committing genocide against human civilians. The beacons broadcasted this message in every known galactic language, updating automatically as new species were discovered. Any responses to the memorial broadcasts? Mostly expressions of understanding and condolence for the human losses. Several newly discovered species have specifically asked for clarification about human policies to ensure they do not inadvertently cross any boundaries. And the older species? Full compliance with all human requests. The Draconis Empire has maintained complete neutrality for 5 years. The Karthak hegemony disbanded their military fleets and converted them to exploration vessels. The Vorthon pirates haven't raided a single ship since the Zerathi extinction. Chen smiled slightly. It was a cold smile, but satisfied. "Ma'am," Commander Santos continued, "there is one item of interest. The Galactic Council has received a petition from a coalition of species requesting formal recognition of the Human Peace Protocol." "What is that?" "They want to make it official galactic law that any attack on human civilians will result in immediate sanctions and isolation from all other species. Essentially, they want to make sure that if any species is stupid enough to anger humans again, they will face the entire galaxy as enemies, not just humanity." Chen considered this. "What do you think their motivation is?" "Fear, mostly. They have seen what humans do to species that commit genocide against our people. They want to make sure no one else is tempted to try it, because they know that human responses affect the entire galaxy." That was true. The Zerathi extinction had changed everything. Trade routes, political alliances, military strategies. Everything had been reorganized around the simple principle of not making humans angry. Approve the protocol, Chen decided. It will save lives in the long run. Yes, ma'am. Chen returned to looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of alien beings lived their daily lives in a galaxy that was more peaceful than it had been in centuries. They were not peaceful because they had learned to love each other. They were peaceful because they had learned. What happened to species that threatened human children? Commander, what is the current population estimate for human space? Approximately 847 billion humans across 1,247 settled worlds, ma'am. Growth rate remains steady at 2.3% annually. And how many humans died in the Zarathi attack? 12 billion, ma'am. Chen did some quick math in her head. In 5 years, human population growth had replaced the casualties from the Zarathi attack. But that was not the point. The point was that those 12 billion people had been innocent civilians who died for no reason except to send a message about Zarathi power. Ma'am, Commander Santos said quietly, do you ever regret what we did to the Zarathi? Chen was silent for a long moment. It was not the first time she had been asked this question, and she always gave the same answer. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that the Zarathi chose to commit genocide against our people. I regret that 12 billion innocent humans died. But do I regret our response? No. The Zarathi elimination prevented future genocides and saved countless lives across the galaxy. How can you be sure? Look at the data. Before the Zarathi extinction, there were an average of 15 major wars per year in the galaxy. Species regularly attacked each other's civilian populations. Genocide was considered an acceptable military tactic. Now, 0 major wars, 0 attacks on civilian populations, 0 genocides. The Zarathi died so that billions of other innocent beings could live in peace. Commander Santos nodded, though Chen could tell she was still troubled by the massive scale of the extinction. Ma'am, what happens if humanity encounters a species that does not know our history? What if they attack our civilians without understanding the consequences? Then they will learn the consequences the same way the Zarathi did, Chen replied without hesitation. The absolute war doctrine does not require that species know about it in advance. Ignorance is not a defense for genocide. But surely we would give warnings first? Chen turned to face her assistant. Commander, if a species is capable of interstellar travel, they are capable of researching the history of species they encounter. If they choose to attack human civilians without learning about our defensive doctrines, that is their choice. The doctrine exists to protect human lives, not to be fair to potential enemies. Chen walked back to her desk and pulled up another display. This one showed the location of human colonies and the defensive measures protecting them. Every human world now has early warning systems that can detect incoming fleets weeks in advance. Every colony has evacuation procedures. Every civilian population has access to underground shelters. But our best defense is not shields or weapons or bunkers. Our best defense is the knowledge that every species in the galaxy knows what happens to those who harm human civilians. That knowledge has prevented more wars than any weapon ever built. As if to prove her point, an alert chimed on her computer. Commander Santos checked the message. Ma'am, we have a report from the frontier sectors. A previously unknown species called the Zethkari has made first contact with one of our exploration teams. What was their response? According to the report, the first words spoken by the Zethkari leader were, "We have heard the stories of what happens to species that harm human civilians. We wish only peaceful relations and cultural exchange." Chen nodded. Standard response. Offer them trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. Make sure they receive copies of our historical records, including the Zarathi situation. Already done, ma'am. The exploration team leader reports that the Zethkari were very interested in learning about human policies and boundaries. They specifically asked for detailed information about what actions might be considered threatening to human civilians. Good. Another species that will choose friendship over conflict. Chen returned to her star maps. The galaxy continued to expand as human exploration teams encountered new civilizations. Each first contact followed the same pattern. Initial curiosity, followed by research into human history, followed by very careful diplomatic approaches designed to avoid any possibility of misunderstanding. "Ma'am," Commander Santos said, "I have been thinking about something." "What?" "The Zarathi were not the first species to commit genocide against human civilians. You mentioned the Thurians and the Kreks, but their extinctions were not as thorough as what happened to the Zarathi." "That is correct. We learned from our earlier experiences and refined our methods." "So the Zarathi got the worst of it because they came later?" Chen considered the question. "The Zarathi got the most complete extinction because we had perfected the absolute war doctrine by the time they chose to attack us, but also because their attack was the most blatant and deliberate. The Thurians thought they were just taking slaves. The Kreks thought they were fighting warriors. The Zarathi specifically targeted civilian population centers with the goal of murdering as many innocent humans as possible. Their attack was pure genocide with no other military purpose. So our response was pure extinction, with no other consideration. And that level of response was necessary to send the message to the rest of the galaxy? Yes. The galaxy needed to see that humanity's commitment to protecting our civilians was absolute. Half measures would have been seen as weakness or uncertainty. Complete extinction of the Zarathi left no doubt about our resolve. Chen pulled up one final display. This one showed casualty statistics from across the galaxy over the past century. Before the Zarathi extinction, an average of 2.3 billion sentient beings died in wars each year across the galaxy. Most were civilians caught in the crossfire or deliberately targeted. Since the Zarathi extinction, that number has dropped to less than 50 million per year, and most of those deaths are from natural disasters or accidents, not warfare. The extinction of 43 billion Zarathi prevented the deaths of over 10 billion other innocent beings. Commander Santos stared at the numbers. So from a purely mathematical standpoint, the Zarathi extinction saved lives. From every standpoint, Chen corrected. Mathematical, moral, practical. The Zarathi chose to commit genocide. We made sure that choice had consequences severe enough to prevent others from making the same choice. And it worked. It worked. As the day ended, Chen remained at her window looking out at the peaceful stars. Somewhere out there, children of 100 different species were sleeping safely in their beds, protected by the knowledge that attacking innocent civilians brought extinction, not victory. The galaxy was at peace, and that peace was built on the complete annihilation of anyone who had threatened that peace. It was not a gentle peace or a kind peace, but it was a peace that worked, and every human who looked up at the stars knew that their species had kept its promise to protect the innocent, no matter what the cost. The Zarathi were gone. Their worlds were empty. Their names were forgotten except as a warning. But children could sleep safely knowing that their parents would destroy entire civilizations to protect them. In the end, that was all that mattered. The galaxy had learned to be peaceful, not out of love, but out of fear of what happened to those who chose violence against human innocence. It was a harsh lesson, written in the extinction of an entire species, but it was a lesson that would never need to be taught again.